I grew up in an environment where I feel like I was always debating and arguing, partly from like how I was raised in my house, but partly from my religion. And I think it left me with a tendency to try to change people. Where
Okay.
I feel like everyone will want to debate this, and I just need to give you the information that I have, and then you can go down this new path that I've helped you discover.
Hmm.
And some people have found that to be kind of annoying, and I do see some problems with it. So I'm wanting you to try to change me.
You want me to change you? To change your point?
Well,
Like your
I just
point of
want
mine?
to, I want to debate it and see if I can learn anything from this.
Okay. Yeah, sounds interesting. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you felt like you were constantly trying to like prove your point or prove your thoughts or prove who you are, how you perceived or acted in the world? Or
Yeah, well, because of when I was looking at the doctrine of the Bible, then I feel like I could just figure it out, and then I could be certain about it. And there was a right answer,
Mm-hmm.
and you just need to interpret it the way that I'm interpreting it.
Okay.
Or I felt that other people were responsible for my anger, and they needed to fix themselves so that I'm not angry.
Yeah, which is like so egotistical.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so what exactly are you wanting me to like kind of like debate you on? Is it the fact that you were saying of that you like to try to change people?
When someone thinks about changing,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of triggers a loss, because they have a story that they tell about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they've been doing this practice or this belief that they have, it's part of their identity.
Okay.
And whenever someone brings in new information, I think our brains automatically say, whoa, new information, that's going to make us change the story we've been telling ourselves.
Yeah.
So they don't want to do it. And I understand that. In other words, whenever you think about having to change, it's like easier to just not.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what I think is, if you become aware of this bias or cognitive dissonance, I'm not sure what it is, then whenever someone gives you new information, that feeling is still going to come up,
Yeah.
where, oh, I don't like this. But if you can realize, and step back and you say, oh, that feeling is coming up again,
Yeah.
that's normal. That's what we evolved to feel.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a helpful part of evolution, but it's what we have to deal with. And then once you've realized, okay, I can get past this feeling, then you can say, okay, let's debate this and figure out who's got the more optimal path, who's going to keep the kitchen cleaner, who's going to be happier, or how to vote maybe.
So isn't it like very dependent on what the thing is? Because if you have the mindset that like anything that's differing from your own like opinion and thoughts and worldview, by trying to adapt to be like open to that or to like grow to like it or apply it to yourself, could potentially be a bad thing, right? Where I think it would be helpful for us to talk about this in specific things. Like let's give, like, you give me an example of something that you feel like is a valuable thing that most people don't do, that they should change, that hypothetically by them changing and doing that thing would be better for them. Because I think the argument's always going to be, what does better mean specifically from that thing?
The thing that comes to mind is being willing to change.
Okay, so just to change to just anything.
Yeah, it feels like a skill that you can develop of changing.
Mm-hmm.
My therapist yesterday said that I might be addicted to changing.
I mean, I could see that.
You told me one time that we were talking about some of our issues. I don't remember what it specifically was, but you just kind of paused and you said, by the way, if you think anything I'm saying is bullshit, or if you have feedback on it, then please let me know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. Of like being able, so you just want like more to learn more information. Like that's what change would be for you.
Yeah. I remember whenever we were coming out of religion, Lydia just came to me one time. She was like, I used to think that changing your mind was a sign of weakness. If you change your mind, then you're admitting that you were wrong before.
Mm-hmm.
But now I see that you were wrong before, but you get to be right or maybe closer to reality.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess it seems like when people don't want to change, they're basically saying, fuck reality. I just like what's going on in my head.
Yeah. I mean, I think that might be a large generalization because I think it could be so dependent on the individual, what the situation is and maybe what they're like dealing with. But I think a distinction needs to be made between change, like describing what change is, because to me, it sounds like when you're describing that process of learning new information and like being open to it and then making a change from it. To me, I think those are two separate things. Like I don't think just taking information from something that's different from your worldview and then just like taking action and being like, yes, this is what I need to do now because I was missing that thing is like good constantly, because I think there is value to being open to new ideas, just like a general openness. So if someone's just like saying something from a different perspective than you've heard, to like take ideas from that, but you still have to determine what the change is off of that. And so I know I wanted to make a distinction between those things because I don't know if I agree with just changing the moment you learn something different is a valuable thing.
I guess our brains, humans, seem to start out resistant to change. Mm-hmm. And it feels like something we need to learn. And that openness you're talking about is not installed into us by default.
Definitely not.
And I feel that most people that I interacted with, especially in the South, did not have this belief, did not have this skill. It was, let me run that through the lens that I'm already looking through.
Yeah.
And no, that's too blurry because it doesn't fit in with the story of my beliefs already or the story of how I see myself.
Yeah. I mean, I think a big thing that's changed from like maybe like the last couple decades to like previously is the internet, because I think it makes sense why, like, let's say you're talking about like a rural city, like in the South, and then there's people that are just like not very inclined to change their minds on things. They just like stick to their routine and just go with it. I think the reason for that is they just lack new experiences. They lack different worldviews on how to like interpret the world. Or so I think I think it's one of the reasons why most cities, like large cities, are more like progressive when it comes to like political leaning, because they're forced to be in a more diverse crowd with different people having different experiences coming from different backgrounds, that you're kind of forced to have to interact and learn from those experiences. But then someone, again, who might be living in a more of a rural town who doesn't interact with anything different, they're never being put into a situation where they have to do anything counter to what they've done before. You're gonna like, you're not even gonna be even trained to be with the idea that new experiences even exist. But with the internet now, we are open to so many different people and different opinions, not just natural progressions when it comes to different cultures with us like listening and interacting with those people, but also people that are a part of cultures that we already understand now, like gaining different subsets or subgroups of their own information. So like, let's say again, from the example, you're someone like in the South and you've never like interacted with someone who's like from like Ireland. You've never like even, or if someone from Europe, you've never like interacted with anyone like that. Well, then if you interact with someone from Europe in the real world, or like from Ireland, you'd like naturally start like learning about that culture. You maybe even be interested or curious to ask them questions to kind of learn about it. But now if you look on the internet, you're not only just learning about like most of the people that are coming to you or on your feed that are like more like popular or active, it's not just about that person's culture. It's about like very specific beliefs that that individual has that they're sharing. And so I think, hopefully this makes sense, but I think things have kind of changed from just learning about natural differences of how the world works to now like extreme differences where people, it's like a valuable thing to come up with some type of controversial belief or idea to share that, because I think
it's a valuable thing to come up with a controversial belief.
100%. I mean, most of the internet, what brings the most engagement is people doing weird shit that's different than everyone else. And that's usually controversial. Like there was this girl on TikTok who started going viral because she started making these posts about drinking her own period blood as like some spiritual ritual. Do I think she was actually just like some people were actually making like the claim that she wasn't really ever drinking them in the videos, but she was like presenting herself like she was. So, but just by doing that weird thing, she's like presenting this weird idea and gaining more engagement because of that. Is that a value? Okay, here's a question for you. If someone's doing something different like that, someone's drinking period blood and they're like, you know what? This is like, makes me feel so much more grounded and connected with myself. This is something you've never heard about before. And now you're like being open and hearing this. Would you like change yourself to like try that or do that?
That sounds difficult for me.
Why? I'm talking like maybe even someone else's period blood.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I would want to know more about it. TikTok does not seem like a reliable place for information, but it might spark like an interest in me.
I mean, it sounds like you have a bias against TikTok.
I have never looked at TikTok.
Why?
Because I like watching what I want to watch, not what I'm willing to watch. And I feel like TikTok decides what I'm willing to watch. And it's often, I think it'd be right.
I mean, playing devil's advocate here, I think you can kind of do the same thing that you do with YouTube, where you follow specific people and like check on their content specifically.
The thing I had someone show it to me on their phone once, and it just shows you a video right away. And I don't like that. I like being able to choose it because I feel like it's capturing my attention. And I understand
100%.
that the algorithm on YouTube is showing me a bunch of shorts or a bunch of regular videos, but it's not automatically playing that. And I get to scroll through them and search for those.
I think that's completely fair. And just so the audience knows, I actually really hate TikTok and I don't use it, but I'm trying to do like more of a debate style here with you. But it still sounds okay. So it's a different type of like way that information is presented, but you have like a bias against the way TikTok presents that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. What about if someone on YouTube was talking about the same thing? Would you like about drinking period blood and it's like all of its like natural, benefits that it gives you?
Somehow I've already clicked on this video, you're saying.
Yes. Like somehow you've already done that. You have access to like a period blood distributor and you're hearing all these great things. Why would you choose not to, if you're so open to trying new ideas and potentially learning from them and making change, what is preventing you from actually taking action on that or making that change?
I'm having a hard time focusing on this because I've just devised a drinking game for this episode. Every time someone says period blood, you take a drink.
Of period blood?
Yeah. I don't know if they'll have that handy.
Yeah, hopefully not. It's high in vitamin K2 from what I understand.
Wow.
No, I'm just kidding.
So you're asking me if I would be open to this controversial, crazy new idea.
Yeah, I mean, maybe to them it's not as controversial. They're like, oh, period blood is a natural thing that all like women have. Women naturally have periods. It's a part of the body. Maybe like consuming that is actually like a valuable thing. Like maybe you're not like supposed to like lose that blood in some way.
I mentioned puberty to my son the other day and he was like, no, man, I don't want to bleed out my dick.
He thought that boys had periods?
I think he was joking, but he had said that a year or two before because he actually thought that.
Oh, man. And I told my son about periods. He's instantly became so much more like empathetic towards women.
Oh,
being
nice.
Like, that really sucks that you're like bleeding. I'm like, yeah, it would fucking really suck to have to bleed. But going back.
I would take that video and I'm not going to change from a video. I'm going to take that information and then I want to talk to someone else about it.
Okay.
or look up and see if I find other sources that talk about that.
Okay, so would you say that commonality between other people talking about it? So it's like, let's say like the internet's filled with so many different topics. You start noticing there's a common topic being discussed between these different people, and it kind of directs you towards being like, oh, that's an interesting idea that I'm hearing from other people.
Yeah, like creatine, for example, going from 5 grams to higher doses of 10 to 20 grams. I started hearing that from multiple different sources that I see on the internet. And I asked my pharmacist wife about that. And she said that there's probably not going to be a problem with that as long as you drink plenty of water. And so I tested it out. And I just measured a scoop and it was 17 grams. My stomach hurt. And so I dialed it back. But the world can be wrong. It's been wrong about slavery before. The whole world can be wrong about something. And so the number of people backing an idea isn't necessarily going to cause me to change my mind.
Okay. So what is the thing that actually does lead you to change your mind more? Is it scientific research like backing it?
Yeah, that's what I like the most.
So it's say like in this hypothetical situation where you are trying to change someone's like beliefs or ideas around a specific thing. Is it usually always backed by like scientific research?
I try to do that. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's fair. I mean, it's scientific research, I think, is like, it's the closest, if there's enough studies, and it depends on what like the types of like studies done, what they kind of like prove, I think is like really valuable. But I think it's easy to make like, to push an idea just because like some type of like scientific study exists around something. And like, you see this with supplements a lot where it's like, I want to like name one that's like, let's say for the example, like cranberry extract, like an extract supplement of cranberry juice. And it's like, there's a study, it's like showing that like people that consume it have like a higher chance of being like happier or like their immune system's stronger. Well, you can make a lot of different like cases for that in an argument. You can be like, oh, if you took cranberries right now, like you'd be happier than you really are. Can you really make that association? Probably not, because if you look in the actual study, it might actually show you that like the number of participants that were were a part of that study is actually surprisingly low or maybe less diverse. And so you can't really make a like average claim across like a more generalized population that the thing's actually valuable or good.
It's too small of a sample.
Yes. That's a much easier way to say what I was saying. Yes.
Yeah, that sounds like a not good study.
Yeah. Do you read most of the studies that you back things for?
I guess a lot of the arguments or discussions I have surrounding this, like some of them are scientific things, but some of them are just habits and systems in my life or in my family life.
Okay.
Like the one that comes up the most in our family is our house being clean.
Okay.
It feels like unnecessary chaos where if we had a place for things and everyone just stuck to the rule, then life would be easier. The kitchen would be ready to be used. It drives me crazy when I go into the kitchen to prepare something and I have to first clean up the chaos that was left there before.
Yeah.
Getting the rest of my family to change in that way has proven very difficult. I guess it seems like they have their preference is different. Like I don't care if it's dirty. I really wanted to keep loving Jesus whenever I was a Christian. And now I look back on that and realize like, oh man, I'm so glad I didn't hold on to that belief. Mm-hmm. So the way that I feel about it, I guess I'm scared of that. I'm scared to just trust that feeling. And I want to do tests. That's what I would like to do is let's give this new system that we have that someone's come up with a test for 6 weeks or something and see how that goes and have a short feedback cycle.
Yeah. I could see that being really valuable. You're gathering your own like sample data to make a choice whether something works or not.
What would you say if someone was like, I just don't care about that being clean?
Well, I mean, I was actually going to like lead into this. What is the standard for that you're trying to set when it comes to like cleanliness, like when it comes to clean? Like, how would you describe what non-clean is versus what is clean?
If you get something out, then you put it back, and
Okay.
you leave the place as clean as you found it, or maybe a little bit cleaner.
Okay, and how clean is like the general thing? Like, it is the general, like your general place.
I'm not sure how to answer that.
Okay.
What do you mean? Like, are there germs there?
No, I guess like, is your house super organized and clean? Like, let's say like a kitchen counter, for example, is that always completely wiped down and there's nothing on it? Everything is like where it's supposed to be.
No, that's not how it is. But
Okay.
I would like for it to be there.
Okay.
I think that it seems like we can come up with a system that makes it easy to clean, rather than, oh man, it's built up to a mess. It's kind of like that region beta paradox. I keep coming back to that. It's just like a little bit clean, a little bit dirty, a little bit dirty. We're not going to do anything about this. Oh man, this huge mess. Now we finally got to do something about it.
And it takes way more effort than it would of just consistently cleaning.
Yeah, like physical effort, but also emotional effort. It's just like depressing to walk into that.
Much more like daunting task.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where I feel like if we came up with a system, there's going to be a bit of a rub in the beginning because we're implementing a new system. We're not familiar with it. We don't have the muscle memory figuratively. And so it's going to be difficult early, but after practice and a bit of consistency, the difficult part of it is mostly going to go away. It's just like adopting a new system. Like that idea of beginner's mind, where people don't even really think about the steps in the processes that they're doing because they've been doing it that way for so long. But a new person can come in and just say, what do you think about doing it like this? And it may be a really good idea, but again, our brain is going to react negatively to that just because it's a different way of looking at it.
Yeah. So when it comes to cleaning, what is the value of that?
I guess I think that it makes me happier.
Okay, it makes you happier. Do you think it would make your kids happier?
In the long run, yes. Again, in the initial adoption phase, they're going to complain about it. In fact, I remember going on vacation and my mom was like, clean that up. I'm cleaning this up. Okay, go clean that up over there. I was like, why do we have to clean? It's vacation. And she said, we have this nice villa and it looks terrible, but I like walking into it and I enjoy being in it more. It feels more restful. It feels more special to have it to stay looking nice. And I didn't like that initially. It felt like work initially. I just wanted to go to the beach or whatever.
Yeah.
But now I feel the same way, where whenever we go somewhere, I'm like, all right, let's find the places where everything can go and let's try to keep it this way. Because, I mean, imagine if the Airbnb photos looked like they were taken halfway through some vacation with 4 kids there.
A bunch of pizza boxes and shit.
Yeah. No one's going to rent that place. And so I guess I think it improves, it like opens up opportunity for creativity, because you can go into the kitchen and you don't have to step over this hurdle of the pizza boxes. You can just start cooking whatever you can think of.
Yeah. I mean, I would actually completely agree. I mean, I feel like we have a very similar background on that, where my mom kind of taught me to like clean things up and I hated it. But as like an adult, I actually really appreciated a lot of taking the time and effort to actually want things to be kind of clean, because I know this is kind of a woo-woo term, but I feel like a home has a much more better energy if things are clean and like
Feng shui.
Yeah. And I think the reason for that is the way I always like word it is like stagnant energy. When things are kind of messy, it's like there's a lot of like a lot of like entropy. There's a lot of things that need organized or put together. And it also seems like really low energy, like things are not being touched in a while. And I feel like a house or like a room or whatever has much better energy if things are kind of being touched or used more, like it's more active. And I think that does help with a more creative mindset or productive mindset, to being like, oh, the house is already kind of feeling that way, like things are being done and organized and taken care of, and it's easier to get into that space. So I would actually completely agree with you that I think that especially for kids, that is a really good one to kind of change your kids' mind about of, well, when you're changing their mind, are you letting them see that feedback too, besides just feedback from you? Are you like getting them to notice that they feel better personally when cleaning or after cleaning?
I honestly don't feel like I've been able to implement this very well yet.
Oh, okay.
So I started thinking about this a little bit differently after watching a bunch of YouTube channels of people sailing, and they're constantly doing stuff to their boat, because if they don't, they will fucking die. They're out in the middle of the ocean. They can't have a hole. They've got to constantly check everything. And I was like, why don't I do that with my house? And it's because I'm not worried about it sinking.
Yeah, it's low risk.
Yeah. But if I were to stay on top of things, like right now, I feel like there's a lot of things in this house that have built up and I haven't had the capacity to maintain them. Mm-hmm. And now it feels very daunting, like a huge hurdle to get over. Whereas if I had done a little bit each day or a little bit each week, then I wouldn't feel that way anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I think it really matters on like the level of how clean you want things to be. Cause like, I would agree that I think you can consistently clean things up. In this example, cleaning things up enough where it doesn't need cleaned as like often, or it doesn't need like deep cleaned as often. But how much time are you spending on cleaning? Like the reason I'm saying this is that I have experience with my brother actually, who is less like actually interested in cleaning. Like he's less interested in spending a lot of time cleaning or organizing things. Not saying he doesn't, because he definitely does, but it's almost like I noticed for a while, it was almost like it was a trade-off. Like he was trading like high intense deep cleaning and organization for more time within energy into like creative outlets or making things and doing things. And I think that's like a fair argument. Like if you decide your house is like, I'm not saying his is like this, but let's say you don't want to clean your house as much and you leave things like less organized and you just like don't really care about it as much, but you take that energy you normally would put into that and put it towards something else that's more valuable to you. Would that be a better choice?
I guess it sounds like you're saying that it wouldn't be as efficient if you just did a little bit at a time.
I mean, I can see that like being the case of like slow incremental cleaning that leads to like a more consistently clean house, 100%. But
and who the fuck is interested in cleaning? That doesn't feel like something people are interested in. They're interested in the end result.
Yeah, but
it's not like it's a hobby. It feels like a necessity.
I don't know. I've met some people that like cleaning is a part of like their identity. like that's how they give, like, that's how they're valuable to other people.
That sounds like a different issue.
100%. Yeah. But like, okay. So like, I guess in like what you're trying to like say is from my understanding that in this situation of like getting your kids to consistently clean, it would actually be a lot less time that they'd have to invest in, less energy, so they can still use that resource towards something else.
Yes.
Okay.
What do you suggest whenever people have different levels of cleanliness? Like their preference is different.
I think this is where like it depends like on the spectrum of where they're at. If someone is actively making that choice because like for themselves, because they're putting that time and effort into something else, I can see that 100% as a valuable thing. It's like I can't say that someone needs to like learn how to cook for their own food because they eat out every night, but they're using that extra time they're saving to do something that's like really like valuable to them as like a person. I can't like make a judgment towards that. So if someone is like, I'll say this, like me and my partner Courtney, we're like pretty similar. We're both like kind of OCD. Like I think we're like on the opposite side of the spectrum. I think we clean too much and we're so worried about being organized. And so I know for a fact if I'm viewing someone else's like home or like their room or whatever, I'm going to be making judgments from my own standard. I have my own personal standard. And I don't allow myself to look down or judge someone based off of that. But there is a level where below or lower on the scale where like cleanliness or like the lack of cleaning and lack of something can be like disruptive or almost like unhealthy. So like I think like the only time I'll ever get to some place where I'm like, hey, I think you should like you need to clean more or be more orderly in this way is when I know there would be a really drastic benefit to that person's well-being and happiness if they did that.
And what if they say, I don't think so?
Well, I don't think you can convince someone something intellectually. I think the only way to get someone to make change, this is my own personal opinion. I think the only way to get someone to make change is to be a good influence on expressing emotionally how much those things helped you out. And if they relate to that, and they get motivated by that, then they're naturally going to make that choice to do it. But if someone is not interested in that, or they don't even like think that direction, they might not be ready for it. And any type of too extreme of pushing them to do that is going to maybe cause them to have resentment towards you.
I feel like this takes us back towards the beginning of the conversation where I was talking about being open-minded and willing and ready to receive new ideas. So I guess that's what I'm wishing people would consider. It feels like you go back to tribal days or medieval days and people needed to act very confident to have people follow them.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't necessarily know that they had the right information because the internet wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
But now we have the internet. And so I guess I'm wishing people would be less afraid of change because of all of the information that's available.
Well, I think what matters is if that change is like relatable to their experience, like, or relatable to where they are at that point in life, is because everyone has like different life experiences. Everyone has different interests. A lot of people have different jobs. They have different like social environments.
That feels really limiting because you've got a whole bunch of different experiences. And if I trust you and I feel that you care about me and you bring something to me that's a blind spot of mine,
Mm-hmm.
then you've given me a bigger library to read from. And I want that.
Yeah. But you have had enough experiences proving to yourself that making the choice to change is valuable to you, which is why you might be more open to me sharing my own opinion or thought on something and be open to like applying that to yourself and trying it out.
Wouldn't you recommend everyone to do that?
I mean, it's tough. Like, I think first, I don't think you can interfere with someone's like free will. I don't think anyone should be allowed to like force someone to have to like really, really force someone to do something. I think they have to like maybe besides kids, because kids are fucking dumb. But I think
they're so childish. Like, why don't they just grow up?
Yeah, they seriously should. Why isn't your prefrontal cortex grown up yet? You're 10 years old. I think, I mean, it's been shown that like, you know, like I don't remember. I think with females, it's like around 20, 21 years old where like they're fully mentally developed, and males, I think it's like 25, 26 when like the prefrontal cortex first like develops. So I think you can make an argument for that at that point when someone's like an adult and like mentally who they are, and the only like mental like progress is going to be like declining from age. I think you can make an argument that anyone in that place should definitely be open to this idea of trying new things and experiencing new things. I think if you look at it as kind of like I feel like you view things this way, of a more like scientific approach. All experience is you're trying something you're not like really used to, or that's not even true. Experience can be an exact same thing, but what you're looking for is just more information. You're just looking for information. And I think it's healthy to be open to new things and a new experience. And you're just like living your life through it. And then you're picking information, like you're cherry picking information from that and being like, is this good for me? Oh, is this good for me? This one's not. This one's interesting. I might like try that and like experiment with it in small ways. And like, I think that's how I think that's how people learn, or that's how people grow. But I think it's so much harder to convince someone to make that change until they're like kind of ready for it. Like, I don't know if you can force someone to like change their mindset. I don't know. I don't think you can.
Like you're saying, oh, I would take this piece of information or this one. And the filter you said earlier was, is it relatable to them? Mm-hmm. What if it's not relatable to them, but if you could measure this scientifically, their happiness would be way better, or their life would be way less stressful.
Yeah.
It feels like they're missing out.
Oh, 100%. And like I personally feel in those situations that like I want to like help. Like I feel like it's like it would be a missed opportunity to not try like persuading someone to try something they haven't done before. Yeah, it's such like a finicky thing. Okay, I mean, going back, I guess, to what I was trying to say before, I don't think you can intellectually convince someone to do something. I think you have to speak to someone emotionally. And I guess that's what I mean by relatability, is someone might not be able to relate to it because it's so different compared to their own experience. And this is one of the reasons I was saying that, like, being like an influence in that way. But if you are able to be like, whoa, I just tried this new thing. Like the example I always use is dancing. It's like, oh man, I just went to this place and did like this dance. Like I went to like an EDM festival and I did this dancing that I've never done before. And man, it was like so amazing. If I would just like try convincing someone who's never done that before, they've never danced in their life, they've never done anything like that, they don't even understand what that would look like in their own mind, how to do it. If I was just like intellectually trying to convince them, being like, I think you should dance. Like dancing would be really fun. It's a lot of fun. It makes you feel really good. It makes you feel really safe. It makes you feel like you're around other people more, and that's a really like awesome thing. Like I feel like if you just tried convincing someone just like through words and like ideas, they're gonna be less inclined to be convinced by that. And I think the reason why I was using the word persuasion is because I think you can emotionally influence someone in a way where they relate to it emotionally. So like the same example, I'd be like, oh man, I've actually dealt with like anxiety issues, and it like really kind of fucks up my life, where like I want to like be around people, but I just like don't know how to like let this side of myself out. And when I was like dealing with this like feeling, I went to like this festival. And it was really hard. I remember like feeling like scared and like concerned about like doing this. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so stupid dancing. Like I feel so stupid. And then I just like started like moving my body more. And I was like, oh man, this actually feels like really good. And then seeing people like emotionally like having fun with you while dancing. I'm like, oh wow, I could like see how this could be like such a fun thing. And then doing that for a while, you just feel like that those barriers are just gone around you. And you just like, oh my God, I've been like missing this. And this is such a great like outlet to feel this way that I need to. I feel like talking in that way, of talking from your own experience, they're not going to like, they might not fully relate to the intellectual things or who I am as a person, but they might relate to the emotional areas that are common between us. And I think that's how but if you take that approach, they are going to be the ones making that choice to change for themselves because they want that. And the only thing you can do is being a motivator or supporter in that way. I don't think you can convince someone to do something, but you can help open the idea up to them and then support them.
Wow, if you hadn't already convinced me to go dancing, I think I would have been convinced to go dancing. But I feel like you kind of convinced me intellectually about dancing, where I was just like, oh, this sounds awful. But he really likes it, and he says it's going to be good for me. It does not sound good. It sounds awful, but I'm just going to go do it and give it a try.
Yeah. But you were very trusting of me. Like, I feel like you're very trusting of me, but maybe it might be worth digging into that more. what were the things specifically that when I was describing and trying to like persuade you to go dancing that like stood out to you?
I guess I think you were saying it was really expressive and it felt good, and it was a way to be in touch with your body. And I have had trouble with that, where I feel like I dissociate from my body. And so I was like, oh, this sounds like it could help me with an issue that I have. So I'm going to try it even though I don't want to. And I remember getting home. I hung up my shirt because it was too wet to put into the hamper. And when I looked at it the next day, I had 3 salt rings, like a this was early on, and this was halfway in, and oh my God. I was so nervous about it. And I did learn that the music really matters for me, and that music wasn't that great. And so I was kind of like forcing myself to dance to something that was just mid for me.
Yeah.
But I felt like this was not relatable to me, like you were talking about before.
That's not true though. I mean, I know for a fact that like when I was trying to persuade you to do dancing, that I was also bringing up the fact that how valuable expressing myself was, how expressing my emotions were. And the reason I brought it up to you is because I know that's something you were actually, it was already in your mind of something you wanted to do, or did you think it was just something you were lacking and had never like experienced expression before?
I'm not sure which it was. I remember singing along to songs when I was alone. And as soon as I started singing and heard my own voice, I would start tearing up. And I couldn't even cry back then. So I just like shut it down, like a wet blanket was thrown over me. And it sounded like a technique I could use to express my emotion in a different way. But it seems like the key thing here is the trust.
Yeah.
That I trusted that you were recommending me something that would be good for me, and I was willing to just jump into it.
Yeah.
Because I guess maybe it was FOMO of I was going to miss out on something, or people were enjoying something. Yeah, I remember reading about Europeans, how they dance so much more. It's just like a more common activity. And when I learned that entire nations of people were doing that, it was like, oh man, I'm missing out on that. But I didn't, like, it sounded awful still, but I missed with what they were getting from it.
Yeah. So you already had like it kind of like built up over time, these ideas about like a concept like dancing or like singing, like expression, that was something you were kind of lacking, but you heard from a bunch of different sources that is like a valuable thing. And then you kind of had like a natural desire built up for that over time.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, in this like same type of like scenario of trying to change someone, what if someone like isn't even like you, or they don't even know the value of trying new things? Like, have you?
That sounds like the first thing I need to convince them about.
Yeah. Well, convincing is a lot better than I think saying to change someone. I don't, because I don't think you can actually change someone. Someone has to make that choice to change for themselves. And I think this is the reason why you see kids become so rebellious against their parents, because it's you're kind of fighting their natural instinct to do things a certain way. And what you're doing is you're putting like such strict controlling boundaries down on someone to be like, no, you have to do this. And that always leads to like resentment. So I think it's you have to like evoke that in them to get them to make that change for themselves. Like, would you agree with that? Or do you take those approaches when you try, quote, like changing someone?
I just learned about the stages of change yesterday in therapy, that there's pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and I can't remember the last one, but it's when you've been doing it for a while.
Okay.
And my therapist said that people spend by far the most amount of time in pre-contemplation and contemplation.
Mm.
And I guess I think now that I know about those stages, I would like to find out where people are on whatever issue it is we're discussing.
Interesting. What was pre-contemplation? Like, what did that look like? Because I know like contemplation is the idea of like thinking about something. And the beginning stages is just like thinking about something.
With
right?
dancing, I would say pre-contemplation was, what? Europeans go dancing all the time, like regularly, maybe multiple nights a week?
Okay.
That's weird. That's what I would consider pre-contemplation. I think I probably was in the pre-contemplation phase whenever I learned that Europeans go dancing regularly. And I remember when I first met you, I found out that you met Heath dancing. And
and that I'm European.
And that surprised me that two guys that I know are not gay go dancing.
Yeah.
And that maybe kicked me into the contemplation phase, or maybe it was much later when we started hanging out and you started talking about it. But I think the contemplation phase was probably not that long for me, just because of how hard you were pushing it and how important it was to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that we were really similar. And so if it was something really valuable to you, it'd probably be really valuable to me as well.
So you related to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I also felt that I was just realized that I have blind spots and other people can see what I can't see. A therapist told me that the reason it seems so obvious to other people, she compared it to a person climbing.
Okay.
They can't see the place to hold, but the belayer, it's obvious to them because they're standing back from the wall, and so they can see exactly where that you need to go. And so I guess I was willing to put that fear of losing my story about myself aside and just say, okay, I'm going to go with this recommendation from Lane and just trust him and see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, it's really brave of you to do that. But it sounds like you have enough experiences doing that, where it's like kind of reaching out in like the dark when you're like blind and still having like a good outcome from that. And so like you've had that experience that trying something, even though you're extremely uncomfortable, can still lead to a good outcome. But how do you convince someone who's never had that? Maybe they just need to have that type of experience first of just trying something that's uncomfortable and seeing a positive outcome from that. Would you agree?
Yeah, I guess maybe it's that momentary, or maybe not that short, of a time where you're kind of incompetent at this new thing that a lot of people are afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
Because starting anything new, you got to be really shitty at it first, but then you can be just okay.
Yeah.
And that seems like to be what a lot of people are afraid of. And I've just realized it's unavoidable. And going dancing is such a good example, because when you look around, there's not that many people that I would say, oh, you can go dance professionally on television, because that's not even really what it's about.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that like people's level of like pain or suffering is so subjective, that for you, you're like the level of something that would be so uncomfortable, that would be like painful, like emotionally painful, is like really high. Like you'd have to be doing something pretty extreme to feel that. But I think you have to consider, when trying to convince or persuade someone to try something they've never done before, or maybe experience something that might be beneficial to them, you have to like understand them enough emotionally about where those limits are. When does something become so painful? Like there are people that are so afraid and have so much anxiety that they can't leave their house. So, I mean, you'd have to kind of act like a therapist. What would be the smallest thing that someone could do that's uncomfortable for them, that would be valuable for them? Maybe go get the mail, like walk outside the door and go get the mail. And that's like an achievement. So I think it's so important to keep into your consideration when you're trying to help someone be more open-minded to try something, about where their starting place is. and give like positive reinforcement and show support when they've made just small changes. And this is what's really hard, is because you have like, not just you, just like in general, like you have like your own bias. You have your own bias about what you think is hard, what you think is difficult, what you think is easy. And if you start projecting that onto other people or treating them that they have that same level as you, you're going to be met with a lot of resistance, and it's not going to be helpful for them in some way.
I heard this quote that was, the hard way is the easy way because the easy way doesn't get you there. It kind of made me think that if something is easy, you're probably not going to grow from it. You're still within your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this other zone where you don't grow, which is the panic zone. It's like a bigger circle, and you're in your comfort zone, and there's the panic zone outside of this. But in this middle section, that's the stretch zone where you can find growth. And so I guess I hear what you're saying about maybe I'm asking someone to go into their panic zone.
Yeah.
And they need to go into their stretch zone instead.
What do you think of the idea that, like the analogy you're using of like that panic zone? What do you think of if you push someone into that panic zone, that it actually gives you the like opposite effect of what you're hoping for, and actually causes like a emotionally traumatic experience enough that it would prevent them from trying that later on?
Yeah, I don't want to be responsible for that.
Yeah, and that's why I think if you take the responsibility on yourself to try like creating change in other people, you have to put that in consideration, because it's like a balancing act where you can cause problems way worse than if they were just like not doing that to begin with.
Yeah, I feel that life is so much about experiences and getting new ones. I heard about this idea of increasing your life through your experiential lifespan, where
Okay.
the more different things you experience, the longer you feel like you're alive, the longer you feel like you've lived, because you have more distinct memories.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that idea. And
That's what I view as maturity. Like what makes someone mature is they've had enough different experiences that they're able to kind of understand things at a larger scale.
so what if someone is resistant to new experiences?
I think there is a high chance, like, I'm playing like devil's advocate on a lot of this because I think that this can lead to a really interesting conversation. But I do think there's a high chance that a lot of people are very immature right now, especially living in the current world we live in now, where things are so like accessible. You can get food delivered to you while you're at home. You have TV that gives you like dopamine that makes you feel good. You can watch porn that makes you feel like you're like having sex when you're like really not. You can like live in this really, really comfortable bubble. And yeah, anything, if your life is so comfortable, anything outside of that is going to be difficult. But I do think there's a lot of people that are actually really extremely immature. Maybe they're mature. I mean, I'm open to the idea that they're more mature in some other areas, maybe that I'm less mature in. But I think there's a high chance they're lacking experience, and that lacking of experience does make them kind of have an immature mindset where it makes sense why people would get so. It makes sense why like a lot of people like right now in their like early 20s are having a really hard time when it comes to like being afraid of trying new things, of having a lot of anxiety. It's because they really haven't like started going into what adulthood would normally present type of lifestyle, which is being forced to kind of have to do things that are difficult and learn to overcome that. But it's because I think people have just been coddled so much from parents, but also from a culture that kind of wants you, this is so conspiratorial, but kind of wants you to be this homebody because you become like this really extremely reoccurring customer that is just paying to all these different services. And so they're kind of like making money off of the fact that you're not doing anything for yourself, that you're using them as like a service.
Oh man, I heard about this idea that instead of it's instead of changing the algorithm, it's to change people's preferences. It's easier to change people's preferences to fit in with the algorithm. That is terrifying.
I mean, you're seeing that with like politics now, where like you can just easily influence how someone feels about something through like an algorithm and with certain videos and certain types of posts. And a lot of posts are controlled by bots from other countries. You can kind of, if you understand where someone's like biases are and their beliefs and what they believe in the world, if you're able to slowly feed them content that makes them feel a different way about it, you're able to really just actually make like a change in how they believe about things.
I guess I really want to develop this skill of showing people their stretch zone. How would you recommend I do that?
Well, I'm not like a therapist. I find I know I've said this probably if other people have watched like our other like episodes. I feel like I have to make these like disclaimers all the time, but I find psychology really interesting and I find people very interesting and I love connecting with people. And so I think if someone is interested in doing that, you have to have a general curiosity and interest to understand where someone is emotionally, like where their current emotional state is, understanding where they came from, where they've gone, what's worked for them, what hasn't worked for them. And then also like understanding like you being vulnerable enough with someone else that they feel safe enough to do that back to you, like a connection, a friendship. You have to like be on that same level for them, unless they're like the other type of person, which is like proactively looking for something like this. Like I like kind of like you, where it's like, I want another opinion. I want more feedback from other people. So I think there's two different types. There's people that like who aren't looking and there's people that are looking. It's much easier to connect with someone that's looking and being able to like help them find out where that point is. But if you're wanting to do it for people because you feel more bad for them because they're like kind of further away from what your perceived ideas are of like happiness, you have to like really connect with them. You have to gain that trust and safety for them to relate to you, to emotionally relate, emotionally connect to you. And then I think the biggest thing from there, like, I mean, I'd be curious on honestly what type of approach you would take to do something like that with someone. But I always like this idea. This is like the way I approach, because I do like influencing people. I want people to be happy because I have lived a long life with being very unhappy. I feel this internal like desire to want to help other people feel that way. And I think a lot of people feel that way.
I think that's what has driven me to do this, is it feels like love.
Yeah. And that is a very loving like action to like, I want to help you. Like it's coming down from a place.
Let me help you.
Yeah. And I think that's like the difference is like the intensity behind what the help is. Is it like a gentle play the way you're helping someone or is it like more stern and strict, which someone might be receptive to it, but it might be more harmful to someone else. But the thing that I feel like has helped me out the most is the idea of just planting seeds, which is once I get to know someone and I think, and this might sound like egotistical, but like I think there's something helpful for them that I'm like observing. I'm like, oh man, I don't know if they're like aware that maybe trying this thing or doing this one thing might be really helpful for them. And so what I'll do is gently plant a seed. And like the reason it's a seed, it's like so small, being like, hey, have you considered like trying like this thing? Because like me understanding who you are and like what you're going through, I feel like wouldn't that like kind of help you out or like make you feel better in this way? And based on their reaction, you can choose to push a little further. Like if they seem interested, you push a little bit further and ask them more about it and then maybe try motivating and supporting them to try that. But if they're hesitant about it or they have never thought about that before, or they're defensive, then just by you planting that seed, they are now aware that there's like kind of like a branch open to have that conversation with you, but it's up to them to make that choice to do it. You can still wait like a few months and maybe bring that up again and see if they're more receptive to it. But if they're not, there's nothing you can really do. You can't like, it's the reason like someone's like alcoholic. You can't convince someone to not be an alcoholic unless they make that choice for themselves.
Did I talk about losing eternity? And that's why I feel like I'm in a rush. Have I mentioned that before?
I don't think so.
In therapy recently, I realized that a big part of why I feel like I have this timekeeper over my shoulder is that I used to have eternity to live because I believed in heaven and I thought it was there. And then I lost it whenever I lost my belief in that Christianity. And so I only have this life to live. This person that I'm trying to like help you, they only have this one life to live. And so I have this sense of urgency that I think is getting in my way of being able to plant the seed gently.
Yeah. I actually really relate. Like, I feel like life is so short, and if you're not taking action on making change or growing in some way, you're missing out.
I feel like I need to learn how to convince people, persuade people of the mother skill of trying new experiences or being open to things that are uncomfortable, or being willing to be incompetent for a little while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you make someone feel safe, they'll be much more open to trying something. Like, what type of things do you like? Approaches do you want to like take? So you kind of describe that you want to help people find that that boundary of where that's at. Like, what would be your approach to trying to do that with someone?
I guess I want to develop a type of friendship similar to what you and I have, where we just trust each other. But it feels like so few people are even open to that type of friendship or that level of vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe I even need to go one step farther back of trying to persuade people that that type of relationship is valuable.
I think the only reason from my own personal experience, the only reason that I have like made a lot of friends or connections with a lot of people is really just trying hard to understand who they are and be an emotional like support system for them. But the hard part about that is it takes a lot of less thinking about yourself, like what the value from that experience or connection with someone is for you, and more what it is for them. And that's like a really hard thing to do. And if some people are like in such a dark place that they don't have like emotional energy to give back, like they can't really be as supportive to you, they can't be as like motivating to you, but you are able to give that to them, people are very grateful for that. If like you are kind of like reaching down into like a dark place of unhappiness or depression or like maybe whatever like someone's like dealing with, and like offering to help and be there and support, like emotionally supportive for them, like that's like an instant connection right there.
I realized there's even another obstacle, and that is that people seem to not value friendship. They've got their job, they've got their kids, or any of these other issues, and it feels like friendship is this luxury item.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel like it is a luxury item. I feel like it seems as important as all those other things, but I don't know, it's just not as urgent and in your face. And so it's almost like that's part of the reason why I was excited about doing this podcast, is because I want to evoke the desire for people to invest in friendship.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess getting the friendship is the first step.
Yeah. I mean, why has friendship been such a valuable thing to you?
I feel like I learn about me. I feel like I get connection. I feel belonging. I feel loved. I feel desired. Someone's on the other side of the table playing with me. Yeah, shared experience. I had such a hard time going on my first solo backpacking trip just because of how much I liked sharing the experience with someone. And it basically took no one can go. I can go, no one else can go. So I'm just going to, and I had such a hard time pulling that trigger because I thought it wouldn't be worth it.
Okay.
It turned out to be worth it, but I still would rather share it with someone else. It's like, oh, wow, look at this beautiful view. And I want to look over, but there's no one there to look over and share it with.
I do think emotional enrichment exists when more people are together. Like I think it just adds like complexity and depth when you're experiencing something with someone else.
Yeah, I think that exposed a different issue within myself of maybe I'm not worth it to do it by myself. Because I know some people love solo traveling around the world, and compared to going somewhere with Lydia, that just sounded awful. But I thought maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a really good experience to learn how to be with yourself. That might be the uncomfortable experience, is especially if you're like someone who leans more like codependent, where like you require emotional comfort from someone else. Doing something just for yourself is actually, because it might be more uncomfortable, might be a valuable thing.
Yeah, I want someone to convince me to do solo travel.
Yeah, I mean, how often have you done that? How many times have you done that by yourself?
I've done 3 solo backpacking trips, but really no solo vacations or traveling other than
Really?
I got married at 21, and we were dating since I was 16.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think you should try doing something like that for yourself. Like, I honestly think that would be like a really helpful thing for you to like, just like treat it as like that adventure of like, I mean, this is one of the things, I mean,
the maximizer inside me, like I get what you're saying, that it would be helpful for me, but it would be more fun with someone.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the cool thing about like being like more like independent or like doing things to yourself is, I guess you could still find ways to like connect with other people that you're just not used to. Like, I think being around someone you don't know, or like say you go on like a vacation by yourself for like a couple of days. Well, you might just like be there for yourself for just a bit and just like enjoy it. But then you might like, it might be an adventure where you go like meet random people like in the city and you're like just having casual like new experiences. And if you're in a relationship for a very long time and you're like, you and your partner like, or maybe lean more codependent where you're like, you enjoy each other's time more and you do things together a lot of the time, you are kind of having a new experience of the adventure of visiting somewhere and exploring what it is, but by yourself. And so you might still be around other people, but you're doing it from a place of independence. And that's what I'm saying might be a valuable experience for you.
Yeah, I was really happy to do improv with no one that I knew, because it let me be whoever I wanted to be. And I didn't have this preconceived person that if I acted differently, the person that knows me already is gonna be like, oh my God, who are you? Like, this is such a different side of you.
Yeah.
And so I can see that being valuable while traveling as well.
I find I actually prefer that. I prefer to be like by myself when I do, because I feel less pressure, like you're saying, like less pressure to have to act a specific way. It kind of allows you to like try out different versions of yourself, which is the valuable thing. And it's like, again, like if you're like a kid who doesn't really have many opportunities and you become like an adult, you haven't really tried out these different like parts of yourself that exist in different ways. And that, again, that is more maturity. It's like learning who you are in different circumstances from yourself, of who you are around these different things, and learning that you like this part of yourself when you act this way in these type of environments or situations versus this specific way. And so, yeah, I think, I don't know. I just find those experiences valuable, but I am also learning the flip side of like finally being in a relationship that's really healthy and like makes me feel safe. I'm not used to like experiencing fun things like that and getting to really just like enjoy that with a partner who's like supportive. And that's also been like that's the thing that's been uncomfortable for me, that side of doing something with someone else. That's really valuable for me.
Yeah, I guess I wondered if I had hacked the system and gone straight to the great travel partner. And so going back or going solo would be going backwards.
It's just different, man.
I remember the first deployment Lydia went on, I started a potluck club with my church, and I had so many people coming over to my house once or twice a week. And I made a really good tight group of friends. And a month or so before Lydia was coming back, one of them turned to me and was like, oh my God, I completely forgot that you're married. I only know you as Bachelor JT because we didn't have kids at the time. That was a really interesting perspective. And I feel like I've only lived kind of for myself whenever Lydia's been gone. But now I want to try it. I'm going to take some trips by myself. You've convinced me.
I think you should. It's like, you're not really making a choice if she's deployed and then you're kind of forced to have to like be by yourself. That's not really a choice. That's just like the after effect of it.
That's true.
But yeah, I think choosing to be independent and experience things for yourself while you're with someone is healthy. And then it also makes those other experiences of being with someone more valuable because you have the contrast of both.
Yeah, and you have more to connect with after you get the new experiences separately.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's one of the reasons I have a hard time, like, I have a hard time having like friends is because I feel like I always talk about the same like shit over and over again. And I mean, you know this, like I feel like I say that to you a lot. I'm like, have I said this before? But like, I have a hard time doing that if not enough time has passed in between before like connecting with them again. Cause I'm like, oh yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to share. But like if time goes on, I have more experiences and I can like share like details with that.
I can't imagine that with you. I feel like we always have so much to talk about.
That's true. But you know what? That's true. And I think that's one thing I really find valuable about our friendship is I have learned to trust you in return. And I think I'm looking for a very similar thing, which is feedback, information about how someone perceives me, about maybe what I'm like missing or what could be valuable for me. And also like that there's no judgment from you. That I can be like fucking weird and say shit and like you'll probably laugh in return. So like all those things are very valuable for me. So thanks. I think we've both kind of changed each other in ways.
Absolutely.
And I don't think it's been forced on either of us. Like I think this is the nice part about like beautiful friendships and connections is it's just been like a natural growth, you know?
Yeah, I feel that bringing this back, you don't have to force it onto me because if you think it's important, then I'm just going to receive it.
Yeah.
That's what I wish I could cultivate in other people, the receptiveness.
I think the only way to get people to be receptive to you is to be really vulnerable. You have to be extremely emotionally vulnerable to someone for them to share those parts about themselves. And I think a lot of people are very uncomfortable in today's world when it's like we're like comparing ourselves to other people and judging other people so much that we judge ourselves and compare ourselves to other people. And being able to speak from a very emotionally vulnerable place where most people on the internet would be like, really, this person feels that way about this? Almost everyone feels those type of emotions on a day-to-day basis. We just don't admit it because we're trying so hard to present ourselves as being perfect because that's what's deemed as valuable on the internet. So being able to share that raw emotional side of yourself with someone makes them feel safe enough to really be themselves. And that's once you have that connection, then you can you have the ball is already rolling.
I think I have decent vulnerability. I think I'm pretty good with that. Mm-hmm. I think the problem has been that timekeeper over my shoulder that doesn't think planting a seed is good enough. I think I just need to be more patient.
Honestly, from your perspective, it might be worth trying that and see if people are more receptive to it.
I'm going to.
Because if maybe your sense of urgency is putting pressure behind someone changing, that might be a reason why they're not really like making that choice for themselves.